Hi everyone, it is currently Pride Week in Toronto and I wanted to film a Pride themed makeup tutorial. Now I've done a lot of rainbow eyes in the past and I was like, what can I do kind of differently? Because the rainbow look has been done over and over again. And the first thing that kind of came to mind that was a little bit different was rainbow freckles. Now I've never done this before myself aside from doing a few multicolored freckles before, and I liked that look. But I want to see how a rainbow freckle look is going to look on me. I'm going to be doing this tutorial mostly with drugstore products. There are a few exceptions that I will get to, but it's only because I couldn't get my hands on certain items, but I do have drugstore substitutes for you. Since I want the focus of this tutorial to be on the freckled area, I'm going to keep it pretty simple everywhere else. I really want this sort of area to be the standout part of my face. Let's dive right into it. Many of you will know by now that I have to double prime my eyelids because they are super oily. So today I'm going to be using two ones by Essence. I have the I Heart Color Intensifying Eyeshadow Base and the Essence 2-in-1 Eyeshadow Primer Long Lasting Brightening and Flawless Finish. And this particular one does come in two shades. This is the 101 Nude Beige. Now I'm first going to start off with the liquid one. Couldn't tell you really why I do that, but I do. I'm just gonna plop that on my eyelids and then blend it out with my fingers. And I've said this before, but I use two primers simply because one will not work for me. It does not matter if the primer is super high end or low end. Single primers no longer work on these eyeballs. Bad start, I haven't even pulled my hair back. I got this, you're probably not gonna be able to see it much in the video, but this cute little crown hairband from my friend Julie, who was hosting a birthday party for our friend Shauna a while ago. I think she got them from the dollar store. I think they're absolutely hilarious. And I wear it all the time too at home because it's not very pinching on my skull. All right, the first primer is pretty much dry, so I'm gonna go in with the potted one now, and I'm just using a fluffy Real Techniques brush for that. I just don't like sticking my nails in the pot. Any big brush will do. So you don't really need much of this because a lot of it spreads. And it's quite white, so you can use that as one of your white eyeshadow bases. I'm not actually going to be putting bright colors on my lids, but this is the one that's been in my current rotation lately, so I just pulled this one out. I want to keep the eyes pretty basic because all the color is going to be on my cheeks and nose. And I'm going to use two unconventional products for that. I'm going to be using a bronzer by NYX. That is a really awkward way to show that. This is the matte bronzer for face and body in the shade Light. And I'm also going to be using this ombre blush, which is the shade Soft Flush. I'm first going to take the bronzer and I'm going to put that through my crease because I want a transition shade, and this looks like the perfect color for that. So just taking a fluffy brush and buffing that through my crease. I'm always sloppy with my crease color because I just need that faint hint of a shadow. And as I suspected, that is the perfect color. And I always use windshield wiper motions in circles to do my crease. Okay, with the crease color in place, I'm gonna be using this one as eyeshadow. So I'm gonna take this highlighter section down here on a flat, stiff brush. This is the MAC 239, and that is going directly on my lid. There isn't a ton of color to it. It is really just there to act as a highlight. I say that, but I'm seeing a little bit of a pink flush to it, but it's because of the coral shade in here. All right, so for my outer corner color, I'm going to be using this blush color in that coral shade on a Real Techniques base shadow brush. I don't want to apply too much color, so I'm going to start really small and build it up. I don't want a ton of impact on the eyes. You could technically just use the bronzer for this, but I like a little bit more color in my looks, so that's why I'm adding the coral shade. This is probably one of the simplest ways I've ever done my eyeshadow. I usually go for a lot more drama. I'm going to be using the Wet n Wild Creme Brulee Single and putting that on my brow bone. I never skip this stage. I always like a color up there just to help blend out my crease color. So I had this really brief thought that I wasn't going to do winged liner and false lashes, and then I was like, no, you gotta do it. It always looks so much better. So I really like it, but you don't have to do this. I'm going to be adding a winged liner with the Physicians Formula Eye Booster. I do have a very specific winged liner tutorial that I will link down below in case you're interested in it. It's kind of hard to talk while doing this, so I'm going to stop that right now. All right, winged liner on. I'm going to be going in with the Essence, the False Lashes Mascara. In particular, this is the Dramatic Volume Unlimited. This is one of my absolute favorite drugstore mascaras because it's got a conical wand that fits perfectly on my lashes. And I am not curling my lashes because I am going to be putting false ones on. And I find that it's far easier to put false lashes on when I haven't curled my lashes. For day to day though, I do curl them, just because obviously I'm not putting false lashes on to go to my office job. You know, I say that tongue in cheek, I guess, because a lot of people would consider the makeup that I wear to the office to be not office appropriate. But for me, I consider fake lashes to not be office appropriate. All right, for fake lashes, I'm going to be using these ones by Kiss. They are called Poise, and I have a multi-pack here, but I already have some that are cut down, so I'll be using those. All right, eyes are done. Time to move on to the rest of the face. I'm gonna go in with the Joe Fresh Primer. This one is in Champagne. I'm just gonna pop that on the back of my hand and rub it directly in with my fingers. I always think this one has a smell, but it really doesn't. While it is kind of gold colored in the bottle, it just adds a faint hint of a sheen. It's not like super opaque. For foundation, I'm going to be using the Maybelline Dream Velvet. I used to use this all the time. I think it was last year. Completely forgot about it recently. This is the shade 10 Porcelain Ivory, and I'm going to be using that on a damp Real Techniques sponge. I do think this might be a little bit light for me right now, but I'm going to add bronzer, which invariably always darkens everything up. So I've got some of the foundation on the back of my hand. Just going to pat it on first. Honestly, couldn't tell you why I'm doing this. I never do this with my foundation. And then directly on with the sponge. Yeah, it's a little bit pale, but that's okay. I forgot how nicely this goes on the skin. It's just got a really lovely texture to it. Okay, now I feel like that's a really blank canvas, so I'm obviously gonna go in with some bronzer. I'm going back in with that light shade, and I'm just using my Real Techniques multitask brush. And that is going in the usual areas for me, which is on my temples, backs of my cheekbones. I really only stick it back there because I really want the blush to be able to show up. So back there, and then along my jawline, kind of like bring the excess product down the jaw. I don't want to have like a streak that cuts through my jaw. And then just blend it back and forth. And same thing on the other side. With bronzer done, I'm of course gonna go back into that ombre blush, and I'm going to be using the coral on my cheeks and then the paler shade to highlight. And I get the feeling this is gonna be really bright, so I'm tapping this off. Yeah. I will blend that out with a sponge in a second. I almost always go back in with my foundation sponge after I've applied blush because I always put too much on because I like that look, but then I'm like, other people are gonna think I'm like crazy clown cheek. All right, blush in place, and then I really just stick to the edges to like blend it a little bit better. And if I'm really going too heavy-handed that day, then I'll go right over the blush. All right, highlighter. Gonna try to keep my little contour brush right in that little edge. Yeah, adds a little bit. You might want to use a smaller brush than this though. That's pretty on its own. I like the monochromatic look between the eyes and the cheeks. Very subtle, but I like it. All right, I'm gonna do my brows before I get on with the fun stuff, and I'm gonna be using the NYX Micro Brow in Taupe. I have gone through so many of these over the last few. As I was saying, I've gone through a lot of these over the years, and I always stock up because they are the best and quickest brows that I can do. I can get a really nice brow if I spend time with pomade and another pencil, but I often find that's too time consuming and I just don't want to do it. So the NYX Micro Brow is definitely the fastest product I have to do my brows with. Okay, good enough. They almost never match. so I just give up. Now for the exciting part. We are going to create rainbow freckles. And I've got a whole bunch of different products here. And this is where we kind of go a little bit off the rails with drugstore products. I originally wanted to do this with just the NYX Vivid Brights liner, but I couldn't get my hands on all of the shades, so I am substituting some other products. I'm mostly using liquid lipsticks in different colors to help fill in the gaps for colored liner. Fingers crossed that this is gonna work. The thing about freckles is they're really uneven. And I don't know about you, but whenever I'm painting something on my face, I always try to make it even. That's not what you want. I'm also hyper aware of the fact that I have to put 6 different colors as freckles, so there's gonna be only so much retail space here to work with. Now freckles tend to come really far out. Like I've got freckles all the way up here. Actually there's even some like way back there. So for the red, I should have mentioned, I used the NYX Vivid Brights liner in the shade Vivid Fire. For the orange, I'm gonna be using the Colored Rain liquid lipstick in the shade Electric Rain. And I'm just putting a bunch of that on the back of my hand. And then I'm taking really small brushes and just going to try to paint that on in the same way that I did with the other liner. Oh yeah, that's perfect. It's kind of helpful if you already have freckles. I'm using some of them underneath my foundation as a guide. All right, so yellow was the only shade that I was kind of running into a bit of an issue with because I couldn't find like a liquid lipstick or a liquid liner in a bright yellow like this. So I'm gonna be using a pencil one, and this is the NYX Electro Liner in the shade Power Lines. And I'm definitely gonna have to press a little bit harder with this. It definitely doesn't have the same impact that a liquid liner would. Okay, the yellow doesn't show up a ton, but that's okay. I'm just gonna keep going with the shades. And for green, I'm gonna be using the Too Faced Melted Matte in the shade Wicked. For blue, the NYX Vivid Brights in the shade Vivid Sapphire. And the very last shade I'm going to be using is Kat Von D's Love Everlasting Liquid Lipstick for the purple. And I'm really hoping this shade is going to tie it all together because right now it's feeling like just confetti on my face. I think it's partially because that yellow is not bright enough. Okay, I think I have a solution for the yellow. I was really not okay with how it's not showing up enough. So I grabbed some Inglot Shadow and Duraline and then mixed the two together, and I'm just gonna go on with that. That should be a lot more vibrant. Oh yeah, that's way better. All right, to finish everything off, I'm gonna go in with the NYX Full Throttle lipstick in the color Jolt. This is pretty similar to the color that I put on my cheeks and I put on my eyes. Although, obviously, more pigmented. All right, there we have it, rainbow freckles. I think it's a lot of fun. It might be a little bit more like birthday funfetti sprinkles, but I think it really works. I do have a tutorial for a more conventional rainbow eye look for Pride. I will link that down below. It was my last year's video, but I wanted to do something a little bit different this time. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you are going out for Pride like I am, I hope you stay happy, healthy, and safe. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.